Hello everyone, this is Gustavo Gregori, and today I'm going to present the work Can Packaging Influence Consumer Choice for Cider, which was developed with colleagues Diana and Diego and oriented by Professor Leonardo Nicolau. So, cider is a fermented apple drink, and research on consumer perception about cider traits is still scarce. In Brazil, cider is not yet frequently remembered, and the offer is low. So the presentation of cider in sparkling wine-like bottles is commonly used, especially during the holiday seasons, which leads to an association of cider with low-quality sparkling wines by Brazilian consumers. So solutions are needed for increasing demand for cider through effective communication, and for that, the packaging can be a good ally to communicate quality, trust, distinction, and align consumer expectations. So we ask ourselves, can packaging influence consumer choice for cider? Three objectives are proposed. First, identifying which kind of packaging is the most appropriate to sell cider in Brazil. Second, discovering if there are demographic differences on packaging cider choices among potential cider consumers in Brazil. And third, proposing packaging options to sell cider in the Brazilian beverage market. This study draws from consumer culture theory, which studies social historical patterns of consumption and pays special attention to everything that can be consumed, including services, images, lifestyle, and symbols, and not only the product itself. An online questionnaire was developed and made available through the Qualtrics platform. Convenient sampling was used. After signing a consent form, each participant underwent a randomized trial, according to the following scenario. A cider producer has been considering a new packaging for their next product launch. An illustrative label was used for the purposes of research. Please direct your evaluation only to the packaging itself. Please provide your opinion on the following concepts. Three packaging concepts were presented. Clean concepts, only presenting the word cider in Portuguese to minimize label distractions. The red color was chosen as per Kessinger's study of 2021 that pointed out that the red color is associated with carbonated, full-bodied, and sweet drinks, which are more aligned with the Brazilian expectation of consumption of cider. Three packaging types were presented to each respondent, and using a 5-point Likert scale, they could either disagree or agree with the following three statements. I believe cider in the above packaging would be tasty, sweet, and I would buy cider in the above packaging. Then all three packages were presented simultaneously, and the respondent had to choose which of the options below they preferred. Finally, there were questions regarding drinking habits and demographics. For the analysis, for the first questions, one-way ANOVA was used. For the preference question, logistic regression was used, using the demographics in the logistic model. And finally, for the drinking habits, multi-factor ANOVAs were used. So here are the results. We had 182 respondents, wherein for age group, most people were born between 1985 and 1999. Only 21 of the respondents had the habit of drinking cider. And for the drinking context, normally they drink at home with a partner. Regarding the flavor, sweetness, and intention to buy, the high score for flavor was for sparkling like bottle. For sweetness, we had a tie of sparkling like bottle and can, while beer like bottle was perceived as more sour. And for the intention to buy, also sparkling like bottle had a better score than the other two. The preference for sparkling like bottles may be linked to the familiarity to sparkling like packaging, since in the early 28th century, cider was launched in Brazil as a product mild in flavor, not very aromatic, with low acidity and alcohol content, styled to be similar to sparkling wine. Very different from, for example, the European cider, which has acidity, astringency, and typically uses exclusive apples for this industry. As for the preference, we had 62% of the respondents preferring sparkling bottles, and during the logistic regression, we saw no effect of gender, no effect of level of study, but an observed effect of age with a p of 0.017, which means that different ages may have different preferences. So here we have a histogram of age, and we can see that for the people that preferred sparkling bottle, the mean age is 41, but for the other two groups, the mean age is 35. which means that the familiarity and the historical context of cider may have a more prominent effect in people with more advanced ages, which may also mean that younger people may be less prejudiced about cider than older ones, and may therefore be less likely to consider it a low quality product. However, marketing campaigns are necessary to get the trust of consumers and build this habit of consumption of a new kind of cider. Our conclusions of this study are that sparkling like bottles typically showed a higher perception of flavor and sweetness and a higher intention to buy on consumers. Age had a positive effect on preference for sparkling like bottles, which means an opportunity to attract younger publics. And beer like bottles may be a good choice for cider with a bitterer taste. As for future studies, other side packaging may be tested, and the behavior of different age groups may be further explored.